Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a review of the first in the Czech Philharmonic's new Mahler cycle under Semyon Bychkov for the PentaTone label. The cycle begins with Symphony Number 4. And I was really worried about this one. I gotta tell you. Why? Because, well, I haven't been too impressed with Bychkov. Way back from the days when he was doing boring Shostakovich with the Berlin Philharmonic. Then he had the Orchestre de Paris, where he did all the same stuff the Orchestre de Paris did. All the things Barenboim did, only he did them for Philips, sort of more or less. Kind of. And then he sort of disappeared into the depths of German radiodom for a while. He was in Cologne, and he did, I guess, I don't know. I didn't have a lot of hope for this. And then he started making recordings on Decca with the Czech Philharmonic, including this Tchaikovsky Journey or the Tchaikovsky Voyage or the Tchaikovsky Extravaganza, whatever it was called. And they sucked. They were boring. They were just dreadful. And really, it was, then they announced they're doing a Mahler cycle, and I went, oh my God, here we go, another one. And as it turns out, this is really very good. It's extremely promising. I can't say what's going to happen going forward, but here's the point. Here's the thing that really, really makes the difference. It's a performance that sounds like it matters. It's not routine. It's not a run-through. It has ideas. The ideas are mostly good ideas. They really are, which came as a complete shock to me, I have to say. I had very low expectations. So, how is this performance special or interesting? Well, first of all, you've got the Czech Philharmonic, which is, of course, a marvelous orchestra that doesn't sound quite like anybody else and which still has a remarkably wonderful woodwind section and tangy brass. And, they have a characteristic sound. It isn't what it was under, for example, Talich or Angel or those people or even Neumann, but it's still pretty special. So that's a good thing. Second of all, and here's the thing, Bychkov has really thought about the piece. He does things that other people don't do. You can tell that this is his performance. And I mean that in an entirely good sense. I mean, let's take it movement by movement. First of all, so let me put this down so I can gesticulate more freely. Here we go, I'm gesticulating. First of all, the first movement has an extremely wide range of tempo between fast and slow. This could make the whole thing fall apart, but it doesn't. It doesn't because it's never exaggerated to the point of absurdity. For example, the second subject, do 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 do, ya da 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 da, wa da. Bychkov plays it with lots of love, but he's not stopping it to the point where you have this feeling of stasis. There's always a pulse. There's always a rhythm going through it, which is really, really good. He's very sensitive to dynamics. He follows all of Mahler's very complicated tempo, start and stop things extremely closely. That's one of the reasons it holds together, because Mahler knew when to speed up and when to slow down. And if you do what he says, then you can exaggerate it a little bit here and there, but it's still going to work okay. And it does. It works extremely well. The climaxes are big and full, and the texture is wonderfully transparent. In that whole development section when it's all going bum bum, with a little harp going there with the horns and the contrabassoon on the bottom going, you hear it all. You hear it all with beautiful clarity. It's very chamber music-like and very captivating. So I was really, really impressed. The coda is particularly good because, it slows down and slows down and slows down and slows down. But Bychkov never brings it to a halt. It's very, very carefully judged. There's some really fine conducting there. There really is, I got to tell you. And then the scherzo is wonderful. It's just plain wonderful. It's one of the best scherzos I've heard in a long, long time. It's aptly spooky, but you don't have, that solo violin isn't so up front that it's going to make you crazy. You hear all of the interesting little details and those wonderful woodwind parts, the screamy little trills, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, piccolo things, and the clarinet's going, yup, with the trills. And, oh, it's great. It's absolutely terrific. First class. And the adagio, which lasts about 21 minutes, the timing is just about right. There are some surprisingly eruptive and quick moments. You know, like the big climax when it's like, Bychkov does not slow it down and milk it. He actually makes it sound quite urgent, which was refreshingly different. There is a lot of straight portamento in this performance. There really is. Now, portamento, for those of you who don't know, that's sliding from one note to another. Sometimes Mahler indicates it, often he does, and often he doesn't. And so there is always the opportunity to add more. And Bychkov and his friends treat it rather liberally. And I would argue that maybe at the beginning of the adagio, in the cellos particularly, it's da, wah, you know, it can sound a little cheesy. It really can. But, you know, I mean, again, that's a question of taste, and it does characterize the performance. Happily, portamento was back in. For, you know, most of the 20th century, it was banished from the orchestra as being simply tacky, and it could sound that way if it's done inappropriately. And that even included where Mahler indicated it. Here, it's very generously observed, and I think it personalizes the sound. It really does. It gives the performance a certain fund of character. And if occasionally they go a little overboard, it's a fault in the right direction. At the very end, after the big climax, there are some very minor issues with chording with everybody. And when you're playing at such a slow tempo, and it's very, very slow, Mahler's very, very slow, not Bychkov's. You know, you've got high violins and high flutes, and you know the woodwinds coming in. You know, they're not always entirely together. It would have been nice, I think, if the coda to the adagio had been redone, maybe just to polish up those little things which they're so noticeable there. But again, it's not serious, and it's not worse than 100,000 other performances I could think of. Finally, we get the finale. The finale, where you have the problem of having to find a soprano who can sing it with the necessary freshness and innocence and unaffectedness, and the conductor has to keep it all moving beautifully, and it is a gorgeous performance of the finale. It's absolutely first class. The soprano is the Israeli soprano Chen Reiss, and she is fabulous. First class all the way through. I mean, it's really one of the most beautiful performances of the finale, again, that I've heard in a long time. She sings with wonderful purity, careful attention to diction, a nice handling of the words that never goes overboard, never breaks out of that childlike persona that Mahler instructs that the singer adopt. And Bychkov's accompaniments are beautiful. The whole thing is wonderfully flowing. He doesn't take it so quickly that she can't sing it. You know, especially in that second verse where, you know, the oxen are getting slaughtered and the fish are swimming and everybody's happy and zipping around. You know, it has to go at a good pace, but it has to be able to be sung correctly, and she sings it beautifully. And best of all, when they finally get to the last verse, which is, you know, one of the most beautiful things in Mahler, you know, they take it at a very flowing tempo. Not quick, but it's not dying. Sometimes they slow down like crazy. So it's kein Musik ist ja nicht auf Erden. I mean, that can really die. But here it's the freshness is maintained all the way till the end. It's kein Musik ist ja nicht auf Erden. I mean, I don't know if I did that right, but you get the point. And the hard part, that bum 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 boom bum bum boom, you hear that ostinato beautifully, and it doesn't slow down at the end. It just flows right into that final note. It's beautifully done. It's an absolutely first-class performance of Mahler's Fourth, and there haven't been a lot of those running around lately. So this makes me very, very hopeful for the remainder of the cycle. Now, of course, there's a long way to go. All kinds of terrifying things can happen along the way, but I am very impressed by this first release in what promises to be, hopefully. Keep yourself, keep your fingers crossed, keep yourself hoping. A really fine motorcycle. Thoughtful and meaningful. And like I said, it's a performance that matters. And that is a wonderful thing. So keep on listening, friends. Take care.